Hello, everyone, and welcome into Week 4, the kickoff of Week 4 of the SPL. I'm Aggro, joined by Anatoly on the desk. And Toly, we've got a really, really good day of games lined up between EU and NA.
Absolutely. I'm really excited forward, especially these first two matches. We're going to have an epic slobber knocker here between Energy and Obey Alliance.
And, of course, Valence and Dig, but we'll get to the schedule in just a moment. First, as we always do, we're going to start it off by telling you to buy HRX tickets. If you've been listening to us this whole time and you still haven't bought any, number one, what are you doing? Number two, go to hi-rezexpo.com and remedy this situation.
I mean, now's the time. You get a chance to hang out with all the casters and all the other fans, and then, you might get a chance to meet the Apollo.
Maybe. The Apollo himself. We also have another special for you, free Enigma chests. If we get your first wins of the day, after completing 3 first wins, you'll get your free Enigma chest. So make sure that you invite your friends who are good at the game to carry you to your free wins. By the way, totally completely unrelated, do you want to play Smite together later?
No.
Okay. Looks like only one of us is going to get Enigma chest, and it's not going to be me. Let's take a look at the standings and see where EU shakes up. We're starting off the day with EU, and so we're going to start with their standings. Dignitas up on top with those 10 points, the only team that has double digits in the point column. Energy near the middle of the pack there, Toly, has not started off the way they want to.
No, not at all. They've been known to kind of stagger a little bit in the beginning of splits, but this is the most important split. Not only this is the time where we are transitioning from the gauntlet to an online portion, and for Energy, they are Lanimals, so if they don't make like the top 4 or whatnot, then they're going to have to try to battle their way through that online portion.
Could be tough, but the two-time defending world champs, I should say, are certainly well-equipped to do it. They start off, they are going to be our second match of the day up against Obey, and that's one of those matchups that, I mean, this is a rivalry matchup, truly, between these two teams.
Absolutely, especially with Maniac going over to Energy, formerly Obey's solo laner, but Xaylia there has been making some nice little improvements there. Ever since his time formerly with his other team, he's been making necessary adjustments to improve. He's been streaming consistently, and he's always been making a lot of flashy plays.
Excited to see how Obey does up against Maniac in that solo lane in particular, because look, the Obey guys, they like to have fun, they're a fun-loving group, but they're also extremely competitive, and I don't think that they want to win any other match as much as they'd like to prove to Maniac that he made a mistake for leaving.
I mean, Obey are on fire right now. They are undefeated, sitting with 9 points. Energy's struggling a little bit. They need to find their footing, and they need to find footing quick because it's week number 4.
And Dimmy in that coaching role now for Energy, moving out of the solo lane in order to make room for Maniac. How is his picks and bans style going to go up against that of Hazer, the coach of Obey? Now, Energy doesn't really seem to use their coach in that sort of mentality. They prefer the type of coach that is there to mediate between the players, to kind of keep all the egos in check, things like that. Whereas Hazer seems to be the guy who's working on the intricacies of the game, the picks and bans for Obey.
Normally, I would give the edge to Hazer in the picks and bans department, but the way Dimmy has been known to play Smite is a very creative one. With his god pool being so diverse, he's always thinking outside the box, so I'm sure he's giving a lot of interesting ideas to Energy.
Xaylia is going to go up against that man, Maniac, to try and get some revenge for the Obey Alliance squad and let everyone know that it wasn't necessarily a downgrade to pick up the veteran solo laner in response to Maniac leaving. That's our second match of the day, but we're going to start it off with Valance Squadron up against Dignitas. And this is a matchup that has big implications because Valance looked really good at the beginning of the split, like they usually do, and now's the real test for me. If they're able to take even one game up against Dignitas, that's a pretty big statement.
It wouldn't be out of the ordinary if this was to be a split, because Dignitas, they split with Energy. Valance Squad also split with Energy. So if you take 2 and 2 together, if you follow patterns, this should be a split in theory. But Dignitas, such a strong team. They have 3 victories, only that 1 split against Energy. Very hard to defeat the former summer champions.
And keep in mind, just kind of similar to how Maniac leaving Obey, and that's kind of their clash. It's a little bit more removed now, but Lawbster and Funballer, separating from Qvo and Trix, 2 of their very long-time teammates on some of those old Orbit squads, things of that nature. So this is kind of the same sort of grudge match, if you will.
I wouldn't be surprised if Valance Squad just comes out firing, maybe orchestrating a strategy that's just developed towards invading in this early game, especially in that dual lane. Funballer is known to play very aggressive, can peel it back every now and then, but whenever he has a lead, he just runs away with it.
Faeles versus QvoFred's the matchup to watch, at least in my mind, because Faeles, when he gets ahead, seems to control the pace of the game just as well as any other jungler. QvoFred QvoFred included, but Qvo seems to do much better whenever he's behind at staying relevant in the game.
Qvo's always very farm-centric oriented. He always looks for any sort of min-maxing opportunity, so he's going to let the action sort of come to him, allow his side lanes to force something going on, and then follow up. And look at the way he just waits around the wings. Faeles is going to need to be very mindful about his positioning and get some early wards in preparation for Qvo's rotations.
All right, Toli, who you got in this one? Valence up against Dig.
I think I want to give this one a split. Dignitas has been looking strong, but Valance Squad has been surprising a lot of people, including myself.
That would really shake up the European standings a little bit, make that top 4 that EU already is so competitive in that much harder to secure your spot at LAN. We're ready for the casters to take it away. Valence versus Dig. Tom, it's all yours.
Thanks a lot, guys. Standing here next to Taco and getting excited for this matchup, Dignitas versus Valance Squad. And this is one that I think is, sure, it's important to Dig, but they have one loss and a slew of wins. I'm looking more at Valance Squadron.
This matchup for sure has much larger implications for Valance Squad to try and take this one away, because for them, I mean, they're sitting right around 4th place, so middle of the pack. They're really trying to establish themselves as a top-tier team, and a lot of people would say that this roster has the mechanical possibilities to do so.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is for me, is when I look at the roster and I say, hey, why haven't these guys found success yet? Why are they struggling? They can definitely take games off of some of the top squads just looking at the piece of paper, but we haven't seen that in actuality. What's holding them back?
It just seems as though there's always a little bit of miscommunications here and there. Lawbster himself has said it multiple times where they've actually been making the same mistakes, and so that can be a little bit frustrating. But knowing that it's the same mistakes, I would also anticipate a team that's this experienced to also be able to work through that.
Well, let's get into picks and bans and see what happens in our first match of the day. Starting off, we're 4th week of competition. Valance Squadron going to be on the left, which means they have the first pick and the first ban. Now, I expect to see a lot of the standard stuff coming out, the Scotty's bans, etc. But the Arlong Shen is going to start us off.
Well, one other aspect to consider that makes this pretty exciting is that I would imagine that Valence would maybe try to take shots at QvoFred's God pool, although that can be pretty difficult to do. He's been getting away with a lot of Nemesis, kind of been shutting down those warrior tank front lines, and I think that for Valence, probably Toli and Agro said it best, if they want to find themselves ahead, they need to just come huge with the burst from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you shut down Qvo's God pool. It's not exactly a small world. You've got a whole bunch of options. You know, I said I was expecting a lot of the traditional bans, but we see a lot of weird stuff. I'm using Cobb. You better get used to him. He has been a real focal point of competition for the past, I'd say, like week and a half or so. And alongside him, the Terra, also not banned out here. Another character that we sort of expect to be banned. With Scotty on the board, who's picking him?
Scotty's available, but it's hard to say so far. Dignitas electing for the Soul actually is their immediate counterpick, but they still have one more option. It could possibly be a Terra selection though, but no, instead it's going to be the Fafnir.
Interesting. Terra's getting a change. Terra will be changed on this patch, actually. Yeah, so not going to be here. Not the same thing. No root, so it's just a slow. Got to watch out for that. So with that change, our meta sort of shifts. Chulainn and Neith going to be selected alongside Geb. It's been a while since Neith has really shown up, huh?
Well, with the AMC being banned for what I would assume was a mid lane possibility for Dignitas, I also really like the Neith pickup because this could possibly still be in the mid lane. Been a while since we've seen her there, but still, I would probably grade Neith as being way more proficient as far as mid laning is concerned than the duo lane.
I've always liked Neith. She does so at the end of the game, she's not as much of a true carry as opposed to some of the hunters with built-in steroids, but I still think she's got some usage. So does Valance Squad, apparently. And as we head into our second round of bans, no Wheelish, no Ho Yi. Dignitas will pick up that Nemesis that you were talking about earlier. QvoFred gonna bring her out one more time.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Qvo's been going absolutely ham with this Nemesis pickup. So if it's working out so efficiently for Dignitas, there's really no reason for him to try and supplement it.
Valance Squadron with a slew of bans that if you are just joining us throughout the season, you're sitting here going, what? Amusing Cobb has been very prevalent as far as his ability to clear the wave, very strong, and his burst damage, very interesting, especially in the hands of Zyrhoes for Team Dignitas. The Ymir also has shown up a couple of times here in the SPL. Worth a ban, though?
I think that's worth a ban if you're facing off against Variety. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that he was last debuting that Ymir in the solo lane, and his walls were just flawless, pretty much. I would not want to try and deal with that when you're already facing off against the Nemesis and a Fafnir, two gods who are great when it comes to AoE control and burst potential.
All right, so we've got a Habwa, a Naja, a Geb, a Neith, and a Chulainn for Valance Squadron. Who's going where?
Okay, you've got Habwa probably mid.
Okay.
It could be a little bit more fun than that, but I'm just going to assume that's Habwa in the mid lane, Neith ADC, and Naja jungle, purely because...
I'm already falling asleep. Come on, have some fun!
Well, I can't see it being in their way, because if it was Habwa ADC, that is completely counteracted by a Jing Wei.
Could also put him in the jungle. Tier is going to be variety selection, and that's going to be, oof. That is kind of what you want to avoid playing up against Team Dignitas. So Tier winding up in the short lane. We'll see who his direct opposition will be. Likely to be Chulainn, but we'll see if that's actually the choice here. Valance Squadron versus Team Dignitas. Starting off our 4th week of competition. It'll be Ducky, it'll be Faeles, and it'll be Funballer. So you brought it up. The Habwa in the long lane. Why do we see Hebo come out in the hunter role?
He has a lot of damage early on, which could be very effective, but I'm not sure, because you want to look for a mage I think is going to be able to solo clear by themselves pretty well and pretty safely. Sure. And for Habwa in duo lane, he can probably get away with that. Although, like I mentioned, this will be a pretty difficult matchup for Funballer, because anytime he's looking for the standard knock-up ultimate combination, that doesn't really work too well against the Jing Wei.
Right, but I think it has more to do with the other matchup. Soul in the middle lane for Zyrhoes is one of the stronger clears when it comes to mages, and Neith, one of the few characters that can really match that with Soul. If you're playing with Habwa in the middle lane, you're not going to be able to match that clear anytime soon. So I think it's less about, Funball is not going to be able to beat up Arkkyl, but more importantly, the mid lane's actually going to exist. So I like that call, putting Lawbster on the Neith.
Funballer is starting out in that mid lane though with Lawbster, so it'll be curious to see who comes out on top. Right now, Lawbster actually eating a lot of poke from Zyrhoes, but so far, pretty much 2 ADCs seeming to get the better end of this trade.
Yeah, Funball trying to find the poke and the clear. Not going to be able to get both of it, but members of Valance Squad. Oh, Funball in some trouble here. He thought the wave would last longer. Lawbster going to go ahead and secure some of those body block shots, but I don't think Valance Squad can turn around and look for these harpies at all.
That was a great route by Lawbster that prevents Arkkyl from trying to get back into in-hand range to look for some more poke potential. They are going to be able to pick up those right mid harpies, but with Funballer and Lawbster still having a lot of lane push themselves, they'll still be able to hit level 2 as well.
So, I mean, watching these supports go at it, Trixtank already relatively low. Well, getting knocked up. Trixtank might be in trouble. BigManTingz with the Geb. What kind of lane? So, I mean, these guys have to go ahead and clear up by themselves, because otherwise you're wasting the lane. But, I mean, is this really what we've come to?
They can't really kill each other. If anything, Trixtank's damage, or it's taken that much damage because he's been trying to poke BigManTingz, eating a lot of archer minions, and it's still going to be pretty much break even between those two.
Why are we just letting the supports farm up? I mean, why is this the meta that we've been jumped into?
Teams are really starting to value just how much you can acquire in the jungle if you're able to push out the waves as fast as possible. And dual lane has notoriously been that lane where it's kind of just AFK farm. Hunters are left alone in a competitive setting for the most part, and so with that in mind, it's been easier to just place those damage carries somewhere in the mid lane or roaming around in the jungle and soul lane areas. That way they get a little bit more aggression and probably set up potential for early kills.
Which is why we see this Habwa in the long lane. The idea that, Habwa is going to take over the role of a hunter is just false. QvoFred wrapping her on the right side. And there's a sprint. Team Dignitas looking to pick up their first blood. Going to isolate the support. Nice knockup coming out from Funball. Will it be enough? BigManTingz taking the damage and taking it all the way to the grave. QvoFred starts it. QvoFred finishes it. First blood for Team Dignitas.
And that patience by Qvo not to use the slice and dice while they were on the carpet from the Habwa is just so important. Faeles, though, looking for a return kill, actually already forcing out the purification beats from Arkkyl, but QvoFred dropping his ultimate as well just to make sure that Faeles doesn't try to follow up.
Less about the ultimate from Qvo and more about the knockup. Arkkyl just keeps Faeles at a distance. Nice play. If Faeles connects with that artillery sash, he just changes targets to Arkkyl, pops the ultimate, and that's a dead hunter. So nice reaction time from QvoFred to get out of range.
Even still, Arkyl's definitely not safe anymore in this long lane. Dignitas is probably going to be aware of Faeles' probably bloodthirst for Arkkyl now, knowing that he doesn't have those purification beads. I mean, what better way to pick up a kill than knowing you have a free sash into ult?
Another point that I was bringing up about the mage, Funball's not sitting there saying like, all right, my Hebo is going to be able to pretend to be a hunter the way a Kronos does, the way a Freya does, right? It's not about this long-ranged, extended damage. Funball's just there because it's basically a solo lane with nobody bothering you. You're sticking your hard carry, some character like Hebo that wants to escape the early game, get the late game. You can shove a lot of hard sort of hyper carries in that lane and not really worry about the trouble. And then Valance Squad knows they have to balance it out, so they put their traditional hunter in that mid lane.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Valence playing this a little bit slower pace, knowing that they want to buy as much time as possible for Faeles and Funballer to really hit that late game stride, because the more you look at it, the worse it seems to try and deal with a Najah and a Habwa in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Valance Squad, they have the Najah here sort of as, like, protection. He's the one that's sort of allowed to... He's going to allow Team Dignitas to move or not. So Faeles has to be sort of the control man. And then late game, well, there's Funball.
And, of course, Ducky as well also needs to serve as that frontlining factor alongside of BigManTingz. I would imagine it to be Ducky as more the initiation factor than Big Man. Granted, Big Man does have that blink available, so they could also be very flexible as far as trading off if Big Man wants to go in with a Cataclysm and then Ducky maybe looks for the follow-up on the Chulainn. Really a lot of different possibilities for Valence as Faeles actually just off the mark with that sash, trying to find something onto Qvo.
Yeah, I mean, Faeles here has to be a little proactive. He can't be completely reactionary, but at the end of the day, his job, like I said, is really just to protect Funball, whether it's directly or indirectly by moving the attention of the focus elsewhere on the map. Right now, Funball can really dance with Trixtank, and that's what he chooses to do. Nice shield coming out from the gap to avoid the CC, and a little bit of extra damage pushed in the way of Team Dignitas as Funball stays relevant. Going the shoot of focus here. Interesting choice. Hebo, not really a character that traditionally wants cooldown.
Not really a god that requires cooldown is the other case as well for Habwa. It's just interesting that he feels as though the shoes of focus would be more optimal route in comparison to the pen boots, but this could also be that he wanted to have a little bit more spammability of his second, because that carpet is probably going to be the only thing that keeps him alive from any Nemesis ganks.
Don't forget, you also get a ton of mana coming out with these boots, and penetration boots are nice for the early start. But if you don't plan on really fighting anybody before you go ahead and build your third item, which is likely going to be real penetration anyway, I guess you can sort of forego the little bit of penetration that comes via purple boots.
I could very much value that. Speaking of which, Neith ultimate has come through, but Variety, no problem whatsoever, just immediately expends his ult at the same time.
Ult for ult, all the way from the middle lane. Now dancing around these gremlins, 4-on-4. Both teams really highly invested here. BigManTingz can get in trouble. The ultimate committed from Zyrhoes. Now it's QvoFred in a ton of trouble. And Valance Squad, they're off to the races. Sprint is popped, but it's BigManTingz on the back end, taken down by Variety that starts the problem. Ducky fixes it, trading out 1-for-1 as Ducky takes care of QvoFred across the way. So it started as a 4-on-4, and it ended as a 3-on-3. Team Dignitas wind up coming up positive there. Almost 1,000 gold, Valence's senior.
At least Valence was able to trade out jungler for support. If you're going to have any member of your team die, you're typically going to want it to be support, especially when you're clearing up the carry from the enemy team.
Funball really has dominance over this lane. It's tough to really deal with the Habwa right here at level 9. Even with that, without that penetration that we were talking about that allows, Hebo to really go hard, he's still just dishing out a lot of damage, able to zone out the enemy hunter Arkkyl, really with not a care in the world.
And Qvo and Zyrhoes now need to be a little bit more careful, knowing that they're not going to have their purification beads for at least a minute and a half. Puts them in a really vulnerable position to Faeles on that Najah, able to just get hit by that artillery sash and then immediately having to worry about the follow-up from the ultimate.
Yeah, I like Faeles on this Naja a lot. He's also one of Faeles' kind of, I would say signature gods, but definitely a character that he's really well versed in. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of impact he can make on this game because, like I said earlier, I think a lot of what Valance Squad has planned here has to do with Faeles. If Faeles isn't able to get the team through this early and mid game, then late game Hebo is just going to be there a little bit too late. It's really important that Faeles is able to control this game, and we always talk about keep the pace of the game with the jungler. It's Faeles' job to maintain the pace of the game. Not necessarily start it off really fast, but make sure it doesn't get away from anybody.
Well, so far, so good. It seems as though it's really only been Valence trading out BigManTingz for anything, and BigMan's actually still slightly ahead of Trixtank in farm despite his 2 early deaths, and as a Gev, that's a pretty ideal place to be, especially if you're still on par with the enemy support in farm, because that just means that you're still going to be able to do your job very effectively.
Yeah, that first blood, probably not what I want, but the exchange that we saw a little bit later, that's pretty much exactly, kind of what you want to do. Trade yourself out for a death on the jungler. Sure. I'm sure most support players out there will be absolutely fine with that.
Just doing absolutely nothing, pretty much. Just a fun little knockout. Funballer just exploring his opportunities. And BigMan actually maybe looking for the big 3-man cataclysm, but everybody dispersing from Dignitas means that he's just going to fall back to his own jungle.
They thought about it, but wasn't enough help from his team. His team already had started rotating towards those back-end harpies, so not going to be the case here. Early on, though, 10 minutes in, our Fire Giant just spawning right about now. And Team Dignitas up by almost 1,000 straight gold. Variety. Big control here over in the solo lane. Funball had control over the left side. Recently relinquished it, about even now. Building into the Bancroft talent. Maybe a Book of the Dead.
Could potentially be Book of the Dead, especially in Europe. We've been seeing a lot of mage gods such as the Chronos picking up that Book of the Dead. It provides a lot of sustain for a mage carry, so that wouldn't be too surprising. But I do feel as though the Bancroft's talent is a very common and great pickup for the Hubwa as well.
And it has little to do with the passive and the fact that it brings lifesteal, and more so just it's very cheap, inexpensive power. That's really what Funball's looking for here. In the second slot, just wants a bunch of power and then build some penetration quickly after that.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe opting for a Spear of Desolation in that third item slot. And really, you said it best. Whenever it comes to Hubwa, it's all about stacking that power as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible.
Yeah. I mean, he's able to amplify power by way of the passive as long as he's going to stay active. And Funball here, he's been playing the Hubwa for a long time. Kind of knows what he's doing. So definitely, I want to see what happens in this mid game because that's really what Team Dignitas need to push. When it comes to their mid game is fantastic. Almost all of their characters excel in the mid game, and that's when Hubwa is going to be sort of vulnerable. He's got 2.5 items online, right? He finishes his Bancroft and starts to build into a shard or something. That's when you want to take advantage. Go for the looks around the objectives, bait the Hubwa into sort of putting himself out there, and then just annihilate him before he can annihilate you.
I mean, for Funballer, it's not even like he's foreign to playing these magical ADC carries either. I remember when he first brought out the Poseidon ADC, and although it's been quite some time since we've seen that one make a comeback, either way, Hubwa is still almost the same premise behind it.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was talking about earlier was you have these characters that emulate hunters, and most notably Sol, Freya, Chronos. Pretty much that's it. But these other mages, this is not a mage cosplaying as a hunter, right? This is just, well, nobody comes to this lane, so we'll put something there that needs a bunch of farm. And it's out of the expected god pool for a professional hunter. But Funball, no stranger to it, like you were saying, and I think that's really important and what allows this team to go this strategy. Because I think this is a really big part of the current meta is, listen, if nobody's coming to this duo lane, exploit that.
And that's exactly what Valence are looking to do. Speaking of which, Lawbster getting a little aggressive there against Trixtank, taking some pretty aggressive pathing, but recognizing that there's nobody else from Dignitas around him, he can afford to do so.
Yeah, he's going to back off just a little bit. BigManTingz is here to help out because the Dignitas boys might not have been there at the moment, but you know they're going to respond very quickly. And quickly they do. 3 people in the mid lane. Faeles now shading over the left-hand side. Just going to farm up a little bit with his Hunter. Funball.
And Funballer actually did opt for that Book of the Dead as opposed to the Bancroft's Talent, so he's really just trying to prioritize heavy power items and all of that sustain to keep in mind as well. Speaking of which, Ducky actually in a lot of trouble underneath his own T1 tower, forced to back up out of it as Trixtank's looking to go and commit, and Ducky already expending the Thorns, trying to get away from Variety. Neith ultimate is going to come through, but not in time. Big Man still able.
Enough?
No, it's not. The tower shot actually went straight to Trixtank.
Not able to take down Variety. I really thought the tower was going to take care of him. But instead, Trixtank able to snatch back the aggro. Ducky goes down to the 2-man dive, and Variety walks away to see another day. Nice play coming out from Team Dignitas. Lawbster needed that ult just a little bit sooner.
Ducky did everything he could to try and buy himself enough time to get away. Unfortunately, it looked as though Lawbster put a little bit of charge behind that Neith ultimate, which is the reason why it took just half a second too long to get there.
I don't know if Dignitas saw Faeles on the left side or not, but if they identify that the jungler is all the way in the left lane, that is absolutely why they go ahead and they dive Ducky. They know that there's not going to be any help from the jungler at the very least. They can anticipate Lawbster's ultimate, but even that came, like I said, a little bit too late. So Variety and friends are able just to dive Ducky, and there's really not much you can do about it. He did everything. He hit his thorns. He just could not get away.
And that's one of the fates of being in that solo lane. You're kind of one of the only lanes that's still left open to aggression. Speaking of which, Variety trying to get that invade going. Faeles actually taking a huge chunk of his health bar for that one, but still successfully defended Ducky's blue buff.
Smart play there coming out from Faeles. Variety makes himself out to be a target. After a ring bounce and a couple of shots, the ultimate would actually be kind of relevant, especially with Ducky waiting on the back end afterwards. But Faeles made sure to prioritize the farm, the blue buff, over looking for the kill, which I don't think is really happening. So I like the decision making from Faeles to let a solo laner sort of zone while he himself looks just for the farm and the kill and the buff.
And that's kind of been this entire game for Valence. They haven't really been looking for too much aggression. If anything, they've been trying to counteract it, but really, they're just trying to get as much farm as possible to get their carries online ASAP. That's what this is all about. They're playing the long game here, like we've gone over a couple of times already, and it's especially clear when you have a Geb.
Yeah, I mean, the Geb definitely just looking to protect. I'm all eyes on Hebo for me. Funball in this late, as the game gets later and later, really needs to be the player that everybody starts looking at. He needs to find those knockups, the ultimates, obviously. He's just going to bring a lot of damage. He needs some safety, and that's why you see a BigManTingz on the reactive side, able to go ahead and peel for him with knockups and provide the shields. And then on the proactive side, you have Lawbster, able to really stud out characters that are looking to take care of Funball, or even set up characters that are looking that Funball or Faeles want to really take advantage of.
I'm still a little bit concerned, though, for Funballer on this Habwa because, like I mentioned, it is a little bit of a counter match of having to try and deal with Arkkyl on the Jing Wei, just knowing that he's probably going to receive constant harassment from Arkkyl, because Arkkyl is going to be the member that you want to try and take down this Habwa. He's probably got the easiest counteracting kit to do so, and if anything, Funballer's got to be careful about the crit that Arkyl's trying to rush online. It's evident that Funballer's about to build into that hide of the Urchin we've been seeing a lot of lately, but I'm not sure how that's going to fare against the Jing Wei with an Executioner and crit.
Yeah, we'll see. He's level 16. In comparison to the other guys, maybe it's good enough. I won't talk too much about the Urchin today. I've spoken a lot about the Urchin. It's a win more item, not an item you want to build while you're even or behind. Right now, Valance Squadron is even or behind, but he himself, not necessarily. You know, I think the Jing Wei pick is a blessing and a curse. Team Dignitas is going to filter into Valance Squadron's jungle, looking for the enemy speed buff. Ring bounce, there's a jump forward, and Trixtank going to watch as Variety takes care of two. Dashing away with the ultimate's going to be a Faeles. They're barely hanging on for dear life is the young jungler. Able to pick up his speed buff, but almost gets taken out for it. Funball escaping the tower dive. Still has ultimate available, so can turn around here. Chase out the Aegis. Nice play. Coming out from Funball, just goading people in with his stance. QvoFred going to get helped out by the middle lane. Beads are already good. Ultimate used defensively. and Funball escapes the 1-on-2.
It's still a win for Team Dignitas, being able to force out not just one, but 2 ultimates from Valence, and that's like a huge setup combination as well between Lawbster's ultimate and Funballer's, and with that in tow, they're going to immediately look straight for this Gold Fury. Absolutely no contest from Valence, and that's a free gold for Dignitas.
Yeah, nothing Valence can do with their respective cooldowns down for the count. Lawbster and Funball are really the guys that you want to see take care of that, but they just can't. Lawbster getting pushed around here into the wall. A little bit of presence coming out from BMT, going to protect his mid lane Neith. Now it's Trixtank that's getting jumped on, but he'll be able to jump away no problem. And Team Dignitas, with that Gold Fury, able to push their lead up to a smooth 4,000 gold.
And Variety already proving himself to be a pretty massive threat on the map, even though his farm is only slightly ahead of Ducky's. It just seems as though these Fearlesses are completely destroying everybody's health bar.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much. When you pick a tier, you're picking him because he's able to control the scenario, but he also brings his own damage as well. So you're crowd controlling players and bringing their health down to a respectable level to kill. That is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons, I'm sure, that Variety loves his tier. One of the original characters that Variety started to make a splash on.
One thing I'd really like to see, though, from Valence, as soon as, well, actually, Lawbster just finished off his Urchin. I'd actually like to see them start grouping to look for the team fight scenarios, because if they're able to find even one pick consistently multiple times, that's going to not only provide them with the stacks that they definitely need to make this Urchin pickup viable, but also just to put themselves back on par with Dignitas.
Yeah, certainly something they have to think about, being down this much gold. I mean, they can't just sit there and wait like their original plan might have been. Ducky trying to look at 2 players with the minion walking in here. It's going to see a quick retreat coming out from the solo lane, and he'll go ahead and lose his tier 1 tower.
Tier 1 tower just not healthy enough, and Ducky making the smart decision there, recognizing that there was no way he's going to be able to defend either Trixtank or Variety from just sieging it.
Yeah, it's just got to walk away. Nothing that Chulainn can do there 1 versus 2, especially level 17 when he's got a 17 there just alone in the tier player. Still problematic. Speed buff one more time being at least looked at by Team Dignitas. Forced off of it will be Valance Squad themselves. Ring bounce being down might invite Team Dignitas to go for it, but instead Ducky plays a good job and zones out Trix while his team actually takes care of business on the front end. Now Variety trying to run away and fails off the mark with the stun, just a hair out of range.
And it's just going to be BigManTingz eating that slice and dice, but Arkkyl, meanwhile, in duo lane, more than happy to play Farm Simulator, just all that free farm for himself, while Valence are just grouped up, kind of just securing their own buffs. Really not a whole lot of openings for them to work into Dignitas' backline.
Able to take out another tier 1 tower very slowly, very carefully, very quietly. Team Dignitas starting to really take this one and push it into the next game's direction. Like we said, already about a 6,000 gold here, up from 4,000, which is what we saw right after the Gold Fury. Variety turning things around, despite Faeles showing up. There's still plenty of members of Team Dignitas here, 4 in total, ready to go ahead and fight, and Zyrhoes making the rotation will make 5.
But even with the Mystical Mill, Ducky is still heavily losing that trade out. Speaking of which, it's going to be Dignitas securing the Portal Demon, but everything else is breaking out on the backside. Faeles actually finding the ultimate onto QvoFred, but it doesn't matter. Arkkyl still able to take down Ducky. Meanwhile, Arkkyl gets another one onto Faeles.
BigManTingz barely alive, chased out on the back end. Arkkyl in trouble thanks to the Habwa, but Habwa could be equally in trouble as well as Trixtank starts to trade back. Jumping forward, finds a stun. Nice stun on the right side from Lawbster, but can't control them all. Arkkyl takes down the Habwa. 6 kills in total. Team Dignitas pick up 3 in that team fight, and it's 6-1 Team Dignitas.
No response either as far as kill secures were concerned, and Dignitas actually immediately looking for the Spire Giant. Variety just doing his best to zone out 2 members, the 2 remaining members from Valence in the mid lane. Lawbster and BigManTingz have absolutely no idea this is going on until just then watching that Fire Giant buff pop up around QvoFred and Variety.
Yeah, I mean, even if they know what's going on there, Taco, I'm always the one that I want to see you throw your life away, at least go give it a shot. I don't know about that one. I don't know if BigManTingz can even get in I'm just not. I don't know. That one, just a great play by Team Dignitas. Quick quick move to the objective as soon as the team fight's over. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely no way for Lawbster to even think about heading into that fire giant pit. And even if he did, I'd have to agree with you. There's really no way a Root can try and contest against a Soul, I would say, as far as Secure is concerned. Although it'd be a good attempt. It's just, I'm certain that they would have immediately turned out the Lawbster and BigManTingz and just killed them instantly.
Perfect timing for Team Dignitas. Couldn't have planned it better. As soon as they get the fire giant and back, they're able to go ahead and look at the Gold Fury in the very next breath. So Team Dignitas up 10-7. That is a death sentence for Valance Squadron. We were talking earlier, Taco, about how this team wanted to get to the late game with the SIBO, but is it too little too late?
It might be. What seemed like a relatively even game has just suddenly spiraled entirely out of control. I mean, 10,000 experience lead is massive. It's almost impossible to come back from that, even with a late game oriented draft, because how do you make it to the late game? Variety just absolutely doing whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do here? Just watching these players go ahead and take care of things. The tier 1s on the left and the right side were taken out almost haphazardly, but Team Dignitas might have gotten a little over aggressive. Nice recognition by BigManTingz. Gonna grab 2 people with the ultimate. Arkkyl gets hit by Lawbster as well, but he's just gonna get out of there. Beautiful use of the agility. Right on in goes Variety. Fearless into the power cleave, rooted by Lawbster, protecting his team. We've got 4 players left here, and Team Dignitas gonna look for the retreat. No big deal.
And of course, it's going to be Funballer actually looking to just get off whatever damage he can. Dignitas, though, they're already paying mine to the Havois. He's having to be forced underneath his Phoenix yet again, and that was just so much expended to try and take out Arkkyl, and completely unsuccessful. Just leaves Valance Squadron completely susceptible to Dignitas' sieging, and now Variety once more trying to tackle underneath that Phoenix. It's Ducky who's going to be falling low first of all.
And that's going to be the left Phoenix here. Arkkyl picking up Lawbster, easy peasy. Funball with a nice ultimate, but QvoFred just doesn't care. The rest of Valance Squad going to be pushed out. Ducky's here, pushed against the wall. Excuse me, that's Faeles. He went so deep, I thought he was a solo laner. He's going to be put down the hard way. Arkkyl with another kill. 5-0-1. Trixtank picks up a BigManTingz. The writing's on the wall here, Taco. Team Dignitas going to pick up the mid Phoenix, but I think this is their game.
This is looking like another Dignitas victory. Don't have to really think twice about it. It's just Valance, it's understandable. They're fire giant. They still have a T2 tower remaining.
I didn't realize the tier 2 tower was alive. I thought they were just going to go for all of the birds, but got to take care of the tower. And instead, the team not even looking there. Trixtank is like, hey guys, I thought we were taking care of this tower.
Got to always pick up that speed buff first and foremost, before anything else. You've always got to go for the speed buff if it's up. And now Dignitas, with that fire giant wearing off in a little bit, just going to take what they've taken and back to base with it.
Yeah, a lot of gold in hand. Going to be able to sort of finish up these builds and come back and siege one more time. Rada Tahuti for Zyrhoes, probably the bigger pickup here. Certainly something that he wants to go ahead and make use of for sure. And again, man, the Urchin. This is an item you want to buy when you're ahead. Watching Funball hit the jungler with an ultimate and barely affect him, you're a Havois. If this Urchin is a Tahuti, we're in a different world.
Same could be said for a couple of different Valance members across the board, but I feel as though Urchin is kind of just one of those deceivingly good items and appealing items. Deceivingly appealing,
sure.
I should say, for a lot of these teams where the game is even. There hasn't been a whole lot of team fight occurring yet, so they think if we build the Urchin now, once we start grouping up and team fighting, we'll get the stacks online and make those procs worthwhile. But it just never really came to fruition for Valance, unfortunately, and when they did start fighting, it wasn't in their direction. It was all for Dignitas, so you've got Trixtank sitting pretty happily now at 7 stacks in that Urchin, but this damage from Dignitas, Arkkyl, just making that 250 health completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to, oof. What is he critting for on a single basic, Taco?
It's probably disgustingly high right now. Now, he's got triple crit, and he's about to have another fire giant. I mean, against the objective, he's hitting for 400s. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start critting for around 800 a piece on autos.
Yeah, so I mean, you get a little bit of help, but not enough to make it worth it. But we'll see what happens. Right side Phoenix, obviously going to be the target since it's the last one here. Team Dignitas grouped up as 5, getting ready. Ducky trying to play D.
And Ducky might not be able to stand by that Phoenix for much longer, taking a huge chunk of health already from Zyrhoes.
And still continuing, ultimate out of BigManTingz. Now he's going to get ulted by the Nemesis. Trouble on the front end. Faeles trying to escape. The Aegis is strong for the moment. One more shot will bring him down, but Variety instead turns and looks at the Geb. Meanwhile, Arkkyl continuing his reign of terror. 6 kills in total, 10 for the team. Ducky trying to get back to the fountain. And with all the birds down, the Titans next here. And just waiting for the minions to filter on in there. And the rest, well, is history. Team Dignitas trying to get some kills. Now finally on the objective. That's that. Game 1 going the way of Team Dignitas. Valance Squad down 1.
Seemed as though Dignitas were a little bit split there as to whether or not they wanted to end the game or just finish off with the Dia side onto Valence. But either way, well played to Team Dignitas for game number 1.
Yeah, it was sneaky. We saw that one team fight on the right side of the map that kind of blew everything up, but they were already had about 4,000 to 6,000 gold at that point just because of the ability to push players out of lane and take care of a couple of tier 1 towers here and there anyway. So it looked like it all came down to that team fight, but in this one, the devil was in the details.
It seemed as though it was just a little bit of a snowball effect. It was more of a slow bleed by Dignitas. They were kind of just taking what they could find off of the map, really pressing the advantage, and then as soon as they were given an inch, they just took a mile with it.
Well, for game